Former Win for over 4 months now.
Part of the Former Win community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's having an awesome Saturday, January 31st, 1 month into the new year. I want to see where everybody's from. You know, everybody kind of watching right now, drop down where you're from, where your goals are for 2026. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that intro. We have a lot to cover here today, guys. It's going to be super cool, super awesome. I'm waiting for feedback on my end just to make sure that the mic is all good and we're all audio checked here. I think we're all set. So everybody sees me. We're all good. I'm going to just double check our layout, make sure that we are all beautiful. Okay. Well, guys, listen, we have so much covered. This is going to be an awesome stream. We're going to go over so much information. So just make sure that you guys are active. You're taking notes. All that I can ask is you guys make sure you turn your phones on. Do not disturb. You have a pen, piece of paper out, and just analyze where you're at, right? Like just take a moment if you already didn't kind of beforehand come to this. Look at where you're at in your career. The biggest thing that, mentors have taught me is just to analyze where you're at. And then no matter what you do each day, whatever information you consume, a book, a webinar like this, a training, a coaching session, a mentor session, take one thing out of everything and make sure you implement it. And then you can go change your life and apply it immediately. That's the biggest thing. You guys need to just make sure you apply something immediately, take it out, and then you guys go implement it. Then you guys can change your life and grow. Otherwise, this is just entertainment. Right. And I've been there where, you go to club meetings maybe and you go just kind of through the motions where you go listen to somebody speak and they worked at a company and, that's it. Right. And the biggest thing, guys, is don't let that be you. Sometimes we need to just let iron sharpen iron. So that's why it's important to come to these things. But at the same time, if you don't take anything out of it, then you're not changing, you're not growing. So just make sure that you do that today, guys. That's all that I can ask. Let me take a look at the comments here. We got Orlando, Florida. In 2026 is landing your first official internship. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's super important, guys. So, when we go through this internship hunt, we're going to strategize exactly what that looks like inside of our program, but also holistically for you guys. I'm going to give you a lot of valuable information you can go and implement immediately. I need you guys to switch your mindset though, and then we're going to get into it as far as the tactical things, but it always starts with our purpose, our why, and why we want to be engineers, right? So we're going to get into it. Make sure you guys are part of school. I already mentioned that as far as the VIP access goes. We're going to do Q&A afterwards at the end inside of our school community. You can get face-to-face with me and we can talk through whatever it is you need to talk through. That way you can make sure that you steamroll into this next new month, the second month of the new year. I mean, it's already flying by, guys, right? The first month is already going crazy, already flown by. And if you're watching live or the recording, whatever this is, make sure you, again, take one thing out of today, go implement it. At the end, we have a big announcement. I'm just going to leave it there for the moment. It's huge. Something happening in the Formula One community. I'm going to be launching a product that's never seen before in any coaching program, mentorship program, school program. You guys are never going to even guess what this is. It's amazing. And I'm going through a change as well. It's going to be super cool. So stay until the end. And also inside of our school community on that call at the end, I'm going to be announcing the 2 scholarship winners. If you guys looked at some of the announcements on our LinkedIn, we're going to be giving 2 full scholarships inside of our one-on-one coaching program. That's going to basically include $10,000 worth of information and coaching in our coaching program. What I do with my clients is we're one-on-one, we go strategy, week to week, weekly accountability. There's a lot there, but there's also events, new products we're going to be rolling out constantly throughout the year. And there's going to be so much that you're going to get inside of this. It's a full 2026 scholarship, everything including school membership, including new products, including everything. The first thing you guys need to do, though, is get inside school. We're going to announce that inside of our school call. So get in there. But guys, let's get into the information. So welcome, as we already said, 2026, take some notes. Let's change. Let's get our internships and let's excel at them too. This specifically is targeted for those looking for their next internship, first internship. But as far as wherever you're at, make sure that we're looking at this when you're in there, that like, that's not the end. A lot of times we kind of think about this where it's 2 mountain peaks, maybe, where we say, okay, the first mountain peak is getting the internship. And then from there, it's like, okay, maybe we're just coasting, or we just think we're good, or maybe we think we made it, right? But we're not. The next mountain peak after that is competing among fellow interns, but also just guaranteeing yourself a promotion or return offer, but then also just living with intent and making sure you're doing everything 100%. If you do that, you're going to get promoted quicker, get return offers quicker, and more so just get paid what you're worth and have a larger impact. So make sure you're processing that as well. Super important. So next thing we have here is going to be our system and what we're going through today. All right, guys, we already touched on some of this, but this is exactly what I'm going to go through with you guys. We're going to go through the broken model, number 1. Number 2, the Formula One reality check. It's going to be a cool metaphor analogy we're going to go through. Number 3 is the career race map. 4 is the Formula One system. And 5 is case scenarios. And then 6 is Formula One exclusive. Okay, at the end, I'm going to show you guys what you can do to get involved with us. So let's just rip it, okay, guys? So you don't need to remember everything. Just understand the model. What we're going to go through is we're going to go through an analogy. It's not too complex, but at the same time, it is a lot of information. So I want to make sure you guys just kind of take it through. Again, take notes. If you're not writing notes right now, get out. Honestly, that's the truth. Just leave, but take notes. Make sure you go through everything, but then understand the model, not every little thing, and implement every little thing, right? All you need to understand is the framework. And then if you take that, change what you've been doing that hasn't been working, you're going to change and get a lot of results. So you don't need to remember everything. Just understand the model. Now, meet me, Formula Win. You guys probably took a look at my LinkedIn profile. I'm not going to do a hard session here. You guys can definitely look me up in the background. I work for Lockheed Martin, Siemens Energy. I've worked in hiring and recruiting for both. And I started Formula One because I always wanted something like this that school didn't offer. Clubs and everything like SHEP, AIAA, all of these different programs, mentorships, that they're all great. But the thing is, I always wanted something that's streamlined, results proven, and a little bit more active engagement than passive mentoring. So I made a community where there's like-minded engineers who want to excel, be in the top 1%. And all that means for Formula One is just striving to be the best every day and improve yourself every day. If you do that, you guys can agree, you're going to get better every single day. And then that's going to beat the competition and set yourself up for success and make sure that you're at a leveraging point. So that's a little bit about Formula One, a little bit about me. These are some companies that some of our students have gotten hired at. It's been a real privilege and honor to just be part of each one of these processes. It's super cool to take someone from point A to point B, compress the time frame, and just make this stuff happen. It's great. I love this. I'm super passionate about it. And a little bit more is I ran one of the company's university mentoring program before. I loved it. It's super cool. But my experience has always been not necessarily by the book. I'm sure you all have heard people say to have that 1-page resume with the bullet points and black and white, 1 page, that's it, technical experience, and that's all, right? Well, that's not what I used to get hired at my first internship. What I used to get hired at my first internship was a resume with my picture on it, my favorite quote. It was 4 pages. I had a bunch of random stuff on there, but it worked because it's unique. And that's what I really like to emphasize is that we're not a number. We're human. We're awesome. We're excellent. And others need to understand that. And our marketing approach and how we go about that is what's truly going to make us stand out. So that's what I love doing for everybody, because every single person is different too. This is not just a plug and play system. This is me going hands on with you and making sure we're getting from point A to point B custom for you. Because again, everybody is different. Where you want to go is different. Every goal you have is different. And we need to treat it differently than generic, mentoring advice from schools that say, go to career fairs, shake hands, make sure your resume is good 100 times and just keep going, right? Like, I mean, that's long story short, a lot of what people say, or maybe go do some research or do another project. And like, you need to do all that. But I mean, then there's another level above that that says, hey, we're going to take this seriously and play it at a different level. So that's what I love doing. It's super cool. We're going to get into a lot of the backgrounds, but let's go ahead and start with engineering careers are not merit-based. They're system-based. Now, listen, merit is important as far as you earning and you growing and you getting more respect as you grow in your career. But it's more system-based as far as leveling up. It's about positioning. It's about what system you're in and what game we're playing, right? And we need to win the game. No matter how we look at it, we need to figure out what system is working, where we're at, what's not working, and how to really fix that. Because it's not going to, if you solely focus on technical experience and only working on projects without worrying about the system side of it, you're not going to get to where you want to get to. And a big thing that I like to say is treat your career like a business. So if you treat it like a business, if we think about this and, from the business perspective, let's just say we're launching a rocket company or something, and, the goal is to get rockets out the door. If you're only focusing on how cool the rocket looks and not this, like everything behind the scenes for how it's made, all the systems behind it, then it's not going to work, right? And that's what this is exactly. It's not all about the flashy titles. It's not all about the experience, research. We need to worry about what's going to really get us to the results, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, okay? So next up, if grades and applications worked, most of you wouldn't be here, right? When we're going through this, especially when we're talking about grades and applications, everybody thinks that we just need to get straight A's, or we need to refine our resume, and we just need to keep hammering applications and we'll get there. Then you keep doing that, and you don't get results. Then you keep doing that, you don't get results. And I mean, I've been there. I mean, raise your hand or your virtual hand maybe if you've applied to a bunch of places, haven't heard back or whatever the case, and you really just focus on that only. Because I've been there and it sucks, right? And to kind of go a little bit more in depth with that, this is the lie that students were sold. Good GPA, apply early, apply everywhere, career fairs, resume edits, and that's it, right? And the outcome of this, which I've had, right? And then you can drop in the chat if you've experienced this, where you get ghosted, rejected, or we went with another candidate. I've been there more times than I can count. And I tried everything as far as getting mentors. At one time, I had 50 mentors, and I learned a lot from them. Don't get me wrong. If you can go out, do that, manage 50 relationships, go out, do that. And I mean, like, we teach you how to do that. I recommend you go do that. But the bigger thing, as far as that goes, is just making sure that we're doing things differently. Because if you're just worrying about these things on this slide here, the good GPA, applying early, everywhere, career fairs, resume edits, and that's it. Because the big cycle that everybody goes through is refining their resume. Because how this goes and what I see students go through is, we start the semester, we're kind of gung-ho, right? New semester, we're getting ready. Classwork, coursework is a little bit lower, stress is a little bit lower. So then we go to a career fair, we go to a club meeting. Okay, we refine our resume, and then we go out, we network, we're happy, and then we're just blasted with exams, and then that's it. And then we kind of repeat that cycle for next semester, or maybe from fall to spring or wherever, right? And then we just repeat this where it's like, okay, so now we can kind of de-stress for the moment right after final exams. And then it's like, okay, cool, let me look at my resume again. Let me go to career fair again. And then we just keep repeating this process. And, the big thing with that is you keep repeating the same thing. The definition of insanity is by doing the same thing and expecting a different result, right? So that's what that is. This is the lie that you're sold, okay? This is the real question. So I love this. I've done videos on this before. If two students are equally smart, okay, just take two students. We got student A, student B. One went to Harvard, one went to a community college maybe, and whatever. And they both had the same projects, experiences. They had the same amount of internships. They just had like everything, right? And then they graduate, they get a full-time offer. Okay, it's the same offer, right? So it's like who is in a better position? Who does things differently? Like what happens here? And specifically with this question in this example, it's two students are equally smart. They have the same accolades, the same classes, the same grades, the same experience. Why does one get interviews instantly and the other gets ignored? All right. That's a big question. That's a really important question that we should be asking ourselves, right? I mean, if you're going through this and you're saying, well, I'm just as qualified as others, as you should be saying, because a lot of us are going through the same classes, working on the same projects together. And if you're working as hard as you can work, your skill set is there. Your skills are not the problem. Your technical expertise are not the problem. But why does someone get instant interviews and the other doesn't, right? Hiring does not reward effort. It rewards positioning. Systems, what we're talking about today. Positioning, okay? So why this training is different, it's not about resume tactics. I'm not going over that at all. Not interview tips. I'm not going over that at all. and not about mass applying hacks. Okay. This is career architecture. We're thinking about this from a systems perspective. We're thinking about this from a map perspective, and we're treating our career like a business. Okay. If you take that and apply that, and you start kind of analyzing it on your sheet of paper and your notes that we have, right? Start looking at, okay, what am I doing? And what do I need to do to start treating my career in more of a systems, positioning, architecture, business type of way, right? If we look at it from there, I'm going to go over specific things that you guys are going to take, you guys are going to run with, but just start thinking about that, right? Because this moment, why you're attending this training and why it's not just entertainment, is that you're taking these moments, this information I'm giving you, and you're able to kind of process it and think about different things. And these thoughts that you're having, these new thoughts, is the prize. That's what's worth it, because then you take that, you write that down, you go run with it, right? Otherwise, if you don't write it, you're not going to retain it, then you're going to forget it, then this moment's useless. So take that. The next thing here is going to be the hard truth, okay? Most students are training like endurance runners, competing in a Formula One race. They're exhausted and still losing, right? As you guys are just going through this, maybe you're just bashing your head against the wall and just applying. And that's not the way to win here, right? So the Formula One, we're going to get into a nice little metaphor. It's going to be super cool. Formula One. If engineering careers were purely about skill, the best driver would win every race. They don't. Every driver, if there's a driver that has the best skill, they're the top, they know how to do every little skill-based thing, then they would win every race. But that's not what happens. They don't, right? In Formula One. So we're going to break this down really tremendously. This is the Formula One reality. This is going to be an awesome analogy, guys. So stay with me. Formula One is not about the driver. So these outcomes and like what's winning are driven by car design, race strategy, pit timing, team coordination, data interpretation, right? So again, it's not only about like your skill level for driving or your skill level in engineering. And on the next slide, we're going to go over some specific examples where you guys can relate this to. But what this is, it's about everything else between, right? If you don't have the skill, then yeah, sure, then nothing else matters. But a lot of us only focus on the skill. And that's the problem in this engineering world and in school, because it's always pushing new projects, more skill, more experience. We have enough experience. We need just actual real world experience, right? And that's not going to be just from doing projects. That's going to be from us jamming our front door, getting an internship, and worrying about more positioning and all of these other things that are going to affect us getting an internship, okay? So next here, Formula One careers versus engineering careers. This is kind of the parallel that I want you guys to think about. If you guys want to take a picture of any slide, I would suggest taking a picture of this one and start mapping this out for yourselves for how this looks, okay? Formula One equals engineering careers. That's the analogy we're using. So our car equals our resume and experience stack, right? So that's where we say, okay, our experiences, everything in our resume, this is, okay, like this is our car. Is it good? Is it a good engine? Is it like is everything in it good? What else do we need to add? If we're missing an engine, let's go get an engine, let's go do a project maybe. Sure. But typically we have more engines or more projects than we need, okay? The next things are what's really important. And sometimes we think about this stuff, but we don't prioritize it, because if you have this stuff in place, it's better than not having it in place. And I'm just going to read it out. For example, it's better having a team in a pit wall strategy, a strategy data level, like it's better having those things in place. But a lot of people just kind of scratch at them and touch on them instead of investing in them and really prioritizing, right? Because if we just, scratch at them and then we go back to worrying about the car and getting more engines, right? If we're following that analogy, then like it's still not going to shape up. Once we have an engine, we're good. You just need to run with it. It's a good engine. Is it broken? Is the engine broken? Okay, let's fix it. But once we have the engine, we don't need 10 more in reserve. We don't need to worry about, okay, let's go do some research. Let's go do another project. Let's go join another club. Let's go do something else, right? Like we don't need to worry about that. So the next things here, I'm going to break them down. Okay. Team equals network plus advocates. Your team is not just your it's not just your LinkedIn network. It's not just the people you surround yourself with. It's who's advocating and fighting for you. I've talked with VPs of several companies, and the biggest thing that I've learned from them is that how they get from point A to point B or high up in the company. And this transfers to every engineering experience as well if you're looking to just get your first position or wherever it is. But the biggest thing that they told me is that they have a running mate. A running mate is someone who fights for you, who advocates for you, who's going to vouch for you. Okay. We're going to cover that a little bit later as well. But that's the real purpose of networking, getting that result. If we don't have that, then the network is kind of useless, because then it's just a bunch of people that barely know us, and then that's not going to go anywhere, right? So instead of just shaking hands, shake hands with intent and build actual relationships. The pit wall equals recruiters and hiring managers. The big thing here, guys, is that we kind of just poke at recruiters. We maybe say hi at the career fairs. That's like that scratching I was talking about, where we're poking at it instead of investing in real relationships. The biggest thing I always tell my clients is recruiters and hiring managers, even if they don't have a position now, they might have one in the future that we need to plant a seed now with, or we might be able to help someone else out in the future, but we're not going to be able to help anyone else out And that's really the way that impact the world and the way we should live our lives, by helping people out, especially if this is our career, this is our life. This is not just a job, right? This is our career. And that's where we go back to treating our career like a business. But recruiters and hiring managers is not just a one-time event. If you fail an interview or something, make sure you keep the hiring manager's contact. Always stay in touch with them, like for the rest of your life. This is not something that is just, okay, one interview, okay, forget it, I'm never going to talk with them again. I guess that's it. I guess I'm done. I'm never getting in the company, right? No, follow up with them every 6 months for the rest of your life. You never know what's going to happen. What if you want to start a business after school at some point? What if you need to make a career change? What if, right? Like right now for me, specifically, especially with building Form 1, I can really call anywhere right now and go anywhere I want to go if I wanted to, right? Like not for no reason. If I really wanted to go somewhere, I'd be able to go. I can call, I can go. I want that for you guys. I want that for my clients. And the only way we're going to do that is if we take this parallel, this analogy, and we apply it in full force. Okay. So that's where that comes in: strategies, application, and timing. So we're going to get into that a little bit more because it is important. It's not the only thing that's important. But next thing is data, is signals recruiters actually read. All right. So just process that for a minute. I'm not going to go into it too much. We're going to go into it on a few next slides, but signals recruiters actually read. Super cool, super awesome analogy. But the next thing here is why applying more is like driving faster on bad tires, right? It's kind of fun because, that's what I was talking about in terms of the definition of insanity when we're just restarting each semester or we're restarting this process, worrying about exams, classes, maybe finishing a project. Now we have a competition. Okay, we have a club meeting. Okay, I need to go back home and see my family. Okay, I need to do, right? And then like, it's like we don't have any time to focus on all the other things on the last slide that are really important. So then we just, okay, well, let's just keep applying, right? Maybe I'll add one more bullet point to my resume and just hope that it's good, push harder, apply more, try longer, right? That's what this means on bad tires, okay? But if your setup is wrong, you burn out before lap 10, right? And I know a lot of us have burnt out before. I've burnt out before, right? So, I mean, it's, it's tough, it's hard, and I get it. And I appreciate you guys in the chat. I see you guys, don't you worry, I see y'all. So next one is going to be F1 teams don't optimize speed first. They optimize reliability, positioning, strategy, execution. Speed comes last. Same with careers, okay? Just take this and really think about this. I want you guys to write 1 through 4 and write one thing that you can improve on in that category: reliability, positioning, strategy, execution. Just write them down. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds here. So write them down. I'll give you an example for each. So reliability. How reliable are you? How often do you keep your word? In your network, your trust, your word is everything. So take this from a project perspective. Let's just say we're working on a project, maybe in a class or something, and we're working on something and we say we're going to do something. We say, okay, I will finish that page by tomorrow night. Okay. Do you actually finish it by tomorrow night, or is it more of the next day type of thing? Do you actually keep your word in all scenarios? Your word is everything. Your integrity, all of that, everyone knows. And all it takes is one mistake to ruin a relationship, and that network, that connection, they're no longer advocating for you, right? That's an example of reliability. Maybe you think of something else. Positioning, right? Well, let's talk about that. How are we taking ourselves and moving our position so that we're more marketable, and not that we're just still here kind of among everybody else, so that recruiters can kind of just, pick and choose. I don't want to compete with people. That's not what we're doing here. Especially in Formula One, what we're doing is we're forming a win, but we're taking our position and putting ourselves so that we don't need to compete, right? So what can you do right now, or what are you doing maybe you're avoiding to take yourself to the next level so you don't compete? Okay. Strategy. Do you have a strategy? Yes or no? And the strategy can't just be go to career fairs, work on your resume, apply more, and then you have a few projects lined up. That's not the strategy, because that's what everybody does. And if that's what everybody does and we want different results than everybody else, or we want guaranteed results, we need a new strategy, right? So how is your strategy? Do you have a strategy? What does that look like? Execution. Are you executing on what you promise yourself? Okay, I'm going to apply to 10 jobs this week. Okay, I'm going to, show up to this career fair, whatever it is. Again, these are just examples, again, for, some of our new people joining in. Write down 1 through 4. Okay. And then you guys can watch this recording later, but 1 through 4, and write one thing you can improve on for each of these. Okay. So that's that. We're going to keep going. The biggest career mistake. Again, we've gone over this a little bit, but now we're going to kind of transition into what's actually important. All these slides are architected and put together really strategically for you guys to think about each slide. So we're going to have a little bit of repeat, but then it's going to compound. Okay. So bear with me. Students optimize GPA, resume wording. How many times have you looked at your resume and tried to optimize wording? How many times do you always ask engineers and mentors, hey, can you look at my resume? Right. And then that's all that we ask for. And that's our way of thinking of building the relationship. Okay. Right. So number of applications. So you can optimize that, but that's a mistake. Instead of signal strength, referral paths, timing windows, and internal trust. We touched on those, but those are what you should be focusing on. Now, if your GPA is a 0.1, that's a problem, right? If your resume wording, if it's a bunch of hodgepodge and it doesn't make any sense, that's a problem. If your numbers of application is less than one, that's a problem, right? So I mean, we can focus on that, but it's more so optimizing that, right? Everybody just works on optimizing that. How can I beat the AI, word track and make sure that that's streamlined? And that's the biggest thing I hear with everybody. They're all worried about the word, AI stuff, and I get it. But if your experience matches the position number one, and like whatever you put in there matches it, you're qualified, right? That's not the problem. The problem right now is not just beating AI application, because then once we beat that, it's like, okay, well, how do we show up to interviews? How do we make sure that we stand out? Like all those things are more important because that's what's going to really break it. That's really what's going to get us out of this, because then we focus on everything else, like we're talking about in this analogy, where it's more so not just the car, and it's more so about the team, the pit, the strategy, the data, like all of these things. And then we focus on that more so we get advocates, we get people to fight for us. That's what helps. Signal strength, referral paths, timing windows, internal trust. All that's more important than just constantly optimizing this stuff. If you want to optimize your resume, I would suggest you block out like 30 minutes a month to work on your resume. That's it. GPA, not the best. You don't need that for everything, right? As long as you don't have a 0.1, but even then I actually interviewed on the channel someone that had a 0.1 GPA. So you guys can go check that out. It's all like the Formula One interviews and stuff. So go check it out because they made it work. No reason you can't. But why recruiters think differently, okay? Recruiters ask, who vouches for this person? We've covered that, advocating. Who have we already seen perform? Who reduces risk? Who reduces risk? They are risk managers, not talent scouts, okay? Because when you take this application pool, their goal is to make the company money, make the company profitable, find a good fit, and make sure that we're all one happy family. But with that, we need to think about this a little bit differently than just, okay, I need more projects, more experience, and all this stuff, and then I apply, okay, am I a good fit? You need to think from their perspective in terms of risk, right? They're managing you. If you come into the company, what happens, right? Are you going to be a risk? Are you going to be a problem? What are you saying that could cause that? This applies in interviews. This also applies in resumes, right? If you're resume, and this is where this actually matters, where you hear people say, having a gap or being at a position only a short amount of time, right? This is where that actually transcends, and not a lot of people talk about, like having something where you had a position for like 2 months, then you went to another position for 2 months, then you went to another position for 2 months. That's risk, because then they're saying, okay, well, I guess the track record is they leave every 2 months. So why would I want to hire him for 2 months why would I hire him if he only is going to stay here for 2 months? Right? That's a risk. So we need to be strategic with how that looks, how we approach that, what we say, and as well as, why do you want this position? If you say, well, I just want to try it out, that's not a good answer, right? Tonight, we're not here to talk about interview skills, but what we are here to talk about is how to think differently, okay? So start thinking about this stuff. Ask yourself some of these questions and why you would think about this differently, okay? Next is the hidden F1 parallel. So we're already talking about this, but the teams don't ask who's the fastest driver on paper, right? Looking at the paper, okay, who's the fastest driver? They ask who wins the system? Who's more strategic with this, right? There's a movie, I forgot the name of it. It's about baseball. It's with Brad Pitt. Ah, man, what is it? Maybe someone knows in the chat. Maybe we can think about this briefly. I don't know if anybody knows. I think it's called like Moneyball or something. I'm gonna try to look it up really quick because it's gonna bug me. Baseball movie with Brad Pitt. What is it? We're gonna find it, guys. We're gonna find it. Moneyball. Okay. All right. So I was on it. So it's a real life story. I suggest you guys go watch it because it's really cool. It's about strategy as well. But they're not only obsessed about, getting the best players on the team, like Derek Jeter or something, right? Like I don't know too much about baseball, but I know a little bit. But this one is them focusing on everybody's stats, like down to a T. They don't need to be the best player, but if they have one stat they're looking for, then they make sure that the math like they played math. They didn't play baseball. They played math. It was really cool. So you guys should go watch that, Moneyball. But that's what this is. Who wins the system? Okay. So how do you build a system that wins before you ever graduate? You should ask yourself that. If what we're doing is waiting to graduate until we get a position, we are playing it wrong. And I'm going to bring back an example I just used previously, I think towards the beginning of the presentation, about this kind of mountain and the mountaintop and where we're at, right? So if we kind of look here and we say, all right, so we have a mountain, and then, this is us getting from high school to college. That's the big mountain. So now it's like another peak we have to climb, right? This peak is us getting into the job. If we view this journey as our entire college career, that's a problem. I want to take this top and bring it like right here. Why do we need to wait? Because then when we get our hands in an internship, then we build experience. So then we don't need to think about okay, the only way to build experience until we get higher up is to go through and do projects and stuff, right? Like if we get an internship our freshman year, which I did, and a lot of other people have, then you can focus on what's truly important to you, right? Because then you don't necessarily need to do so many projects because you're already getting work experience. You just go shine in there, and then we can talk about that later. But that's a mentality to have, right? So how do you build a system that wins before you ever graduate? The career race map. All right, guys. So the career race is 3 phases. So number 1 is pre-race, 4 applications. 2 is the race window, interviews and internships. And 3 is championship conversion, offers and returns. Everybody only shows up at phase 2. And that's a problem. You only show up for phase 2, right? So all of this that you guys are kind of thinking about, these interviews and internships, this is basically like when I say show up, where students only show up at phase 2, kind of what we talked about, where you only show up to the career fairs, you only show up to some of the meetings with some big time engineering speakers and hoping you get something out of that by going up and talking with them, right? Like the speakers that come to these clubs, a lot of them talk to a lot of students, right? And they're not hiring right now. Yeah, if you make a good impression, maybe something happens, but that's harder than playing it from the long-term perspective. But the whole game and the whole system and the whole positioning perspective of pre-race and championship conversion, okay? All this stuff is important. We need to make sure we're strategic and logical about this. So number 1 is phase 1 pre-race positioning. So super important, what actually matters: visibility before openings, relationship warmth, proof of execution, internal alignment. This is where the race is won. Okay, just take this for a moment. We're going to process this together. Okay, visibility before openings. What does this mean? It's obviously very point blank, and maybe you've heard it before. But what this means to me and why I put this on here is because this is huge. A lot of the engineers I know get positions made for them. They don't have to apply to positions. They get positions made for them. How does that happen? Has anybody told you that? Or is that like a political thing that people don't want to talk about? Like the example I brought up where everybody says to have a 1-page resume, blah, 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 and then we do something different with our picture, quote, right? Like, so like, this is what I'm talking about, where I wanted to make Formal Win, where we're talking about only what actually works and we're not being politically correct as far as what companies say, what every little thing says to do. Visibility before openings. The reason that this exists is because I see a lot of people that positions are made for them, right? If you get in contact with someone, you build all this trust and all of these things happen, your visibility is so high. And before openings happen, it's almost like, oh, hey, yeah, we can use somebody doing X, Y, and Z. Like another little analogy, not to go too down the rabbit hole, but I like to think of companies and our careers like businesses, like we said, but these companies are businesses at the end of the day, right? So if you're valuable, they're going to swoop you up. If you're not valuable, why would they bring you on the team? Right. So that's like a little logic thing. But if we take a startup company versus a big company and we say, okay, a startup company maybe has 3 people, all those people are wearing all the hats, right? Versus a big company where you might have one specific role, but that doesn't mean you go into that company and you only do that one specific role. The way to add value to the company is by saving them money, by doing more, and by wearing a lot of different hats and adopting a lot of different things. But if you can get a visibility factor where you can do a lot before things open up, then they're going to start changing and positioning you where you can be and where they see you fit and make things for you. So super awesome. We can go down that more in depth for sure, but relationship warmth, right? Like how hot do we keep our relationships, or do we let them go cold? Do we follow up with a career advisor once, or do we follow up at all? A lot of us go to career fairs and we don't follow up with anybody at all. We're just send a generic email and then that's it for like a year. And then when we're kind of stressed out, we're looking for internships. We're like, okay, yeah, okay. I emailed someone last year. They're not going to remember you. And then they're going to see you following up with an email from a year ago. They're like, all right, why'd they follow up? Right. So it's like you guys need to keep your relationships warm and hot. And the way you do that is by treating your career like a business, right? We just need to follow up with everybody and make sure that we're constantly maintaining these relationships forever. Every conversation, every networking situation, we need to treat it with intent. We're not going to have everybody in our contacts forever, but we should approach it as we do, right? Because if we do, then we never know what's going to happen. We need to make opportunities for ourselves. This is how we do it. Proof of execution. What proof do you have that you actually executed? Do you have recommendation letters? Do you have proof? Like what other methods of proof do you have? And we can be creative with proof too, right? If we have something like LinkedIn recommendations, I highly recommend you guys get LinkedIn recommendations from every single person that you know. Huge, super important. All right. Internal alignment. That's also important as well, as far as your alignment to the company and what we're actually doing in this career. If you don't know why you want to be an engineer, we need to get clear on that. If you don't know where you want to go, we need to get clear on that, because then that's where things connect. If we're just looking for an engineering internship just for money, or it's like the next thing we're supposed to do, then that's what, people are going to pick up. People are going to read that from your body language, from your tonality, from everything you're doing without you actually doing anything, right? So we need to be clear on that why. So that way, when we go talk to people, it's not weird and we're not stressed out about it, because we don't need to kind of prepare to be something that we're not, as far as us going and advocating why we want to do things. Like it's almost kind of like faking it. And I don't want to fake it. I don't want you guys to fake it. I want to be clear. So That's how races are won. All right. Internships converting to full time. So interns remove uncertainty. They build internal trust and they become known quantities. Okay. Internships aren't entry points, they're auditions. Now, this is the biggest thing because everybody thinks that you get an internship, you're set. Okay. Now, I don't know about you guys, and I'll bring this up again later, but easy things aren't worth having. Have you guys ever done anything easier in your life? Then it's kind of like, okay, cool, versus you guys going through a hard time or doing something hard and becoming victorious at the end of it. Isn't that like such a better feeling? Right. So if something is easy, I typically like running away from it because I'm like, that's probably not going to make me grow and make me develop and make me more successful and make me get to where I want to be. So in terms of internships, it's the same thing, guys. If an internship is super easy to get, or it's like, maybe there's some red unknown flags there that we need to think about. Or when we're in an internship, we can't just play it small and think that we're on top and that's it. We're set and we're guaranteed a full-time position, right? Interns remove uncertainty by the work that you do. You build trust internally. I can't tell you how many times I talk to students, they get an internship and then, it ends and it's like, okay, well, do you have a return offer? Oh, no. Okay, well, what happened? Oh, it was a good internship. I learned a lot. Okay, like the point of getting an internship is that like that part of our life needs to be the best part where we document everything, we build all these relationships, and now we have a fruitful experience instead of just a transactional experience. All right. So that's what we have here. The leverage curve. Okay. Early effort compounds, late effort barely registers. Say it with me. I know I can't hear you guys, but you hear me. Early effort compounds, late effort barely registers. The earlier you build leverage, the less you need luck. All these things that we do, the earlier you start, which it doesn't matter where you are, if you're a junior, freshman, senior, sophomore, wherever we're at, the earlier you start, which is now, if you haven't started, start now. All the seeds we plant take effect and they compound, and we need to let them compound. Even if it doesn't mean anything, even if we have a full-time offer right now and we're about to graduate in 8 months or a year and you have a full-time offer already, right? That doesn't mean we just slow down on the gas. We still need to plant seeds because those seeds a year or 2 years from now could result in a promotion, right? So we don't know what's going to happen, but we need to be intentional. We need to be strategical. We need to have a game plan. We need to treat this like a Formula One race, right? This is not just transactional. This is not just basic. This needs to be intentional. This is where you get true leverage, right? Because now we have a book of business. Now we have options. Now we're not just settling for the first thing that comes, right? Super important. So the earlier you do this, the better. The later, when we're about to make decisions or you're about to graduate maybe, and we're like, okay, I just need to take the first thing available. That's when it's like, all right, maybe not exactly what we want, but we need to take something and then that could slow us down, or we think, okay, now we won. And then that kind of delays where we're at in the first place because we should have been making more progress, but now we have to settle. So start today if you haven't started, okay? Networking is misunderstood. We've talked about this, but I see a lot of mentors and a lot of people talk about this. And for us, like we actually teach real strategies instead of just touching on it. This is touching on it, but I still see people like go through this, and I'm gonna read this slide and we're gonna talk about it. And then you go out and you just do the same thing, right? And like it's kind of annoying, right? Because like we can't just keep doing the same thing. The biggest thing here is asking a lot of students just ask for jobs, they ask for referrals, they ask for help, and that's it. Then you show up, you talk with people, and that's it. You know what I mean? And like that's all that we have. And then you just go through the semester again. Like think about this like that resume circle that we kind of just talked about, where at the beginning of the semester we focus on our resume, we focus on that, and then we get stressed out about exams and we try again. It's the same thing here. That's all that we do, especially when you go to club meetings. I'm sure you guys have been to more than one club meeting. And then, at the beginning of the semester or something, and then you go to another one, and you just keep repeating, asking. Where you're like, hey, how's it going? Then you try to break the ice. It's like, okay, break the ice. This is what school taught me. This is how you normally network, right? And then, okay, how's it going? Yes, I'd love to stay in contact with you. What's your phone number? And you ask everybody that, right? And then you think you're doing good, but everybody's really asking that. Then the recruiter or the engineer or the person you're talking to is like, okay, like another one. You know what I mean? So then that's not going to result in anything. But you think you did really good. So then when you think you do really good, then you send a follow-up email and you're like, okay, can I have a job now? Or can I have a referral? Or can I have help? It's like you didn't earn that yet. Okay. Like you didn't earn that yet. You're like most students. They're not going to help everybody. They can't, right? You physically can't. So top candidates create value signals. They become useful and they get pulled in. You need to get pulled in. Don't chase, let them chase you. Become chase worthy, become valuable, become marketable, become useful. Like we're saying, be useful to everybody. If you're not useful, the biggest thing I like to say too is engineering careers and, recruiters and students is like recruiters and all these people, like they have everything we want, right? They got the dream job, they got everything we like, but we're kind of here and we're like, okay, please, but we can become a lot more useful than you think. All right. One way to do it is change their state. It's changed their mindset. It's changed like their energy. If they're having a long day, they're talking to the same people, trying to, keep up with smiles and fake stuff, like go in and change everything up. Like, like going for a hug, maybe just change, like you have to be different. You have to do something different. You have to become useful. You have to add value, and value signals we're going to touch on. But the referral myth, referrals aren't favors, they're risk transfers. Okay. Again, we're talking about this. It's the same thing, but another way of looking at it. Okay. When you guys are going and asking for referrals, it's not a guaranteed thing. Number one, all it is a risk transfer from a vetted company person that they've already taken the risk of, and they're still a company, or they're still an employee for that company. So that means anything that they say is going to help deter risk for a new program or a new person. So when they refer you, it's them like vouching and putting their name on the line. So like no one's going to risk that. No one's going to risk their reputation for a random student. And how do you not become a random student? That's what you should be asking yourself. Okay. So that's the myth. Next thing is going to be career signal stack. Okay. So now this is what I said we were going to talk about. We're talking about signals, and there's lots of different ways to do this. And if you guys are still with me, put a 1 in the chat or something, put one top takeaway. I'll just take a 1 in the chat. You guys can just put a 1 in the chat. Cool. So the career signal stack, right? Signal recruiters trust, prior exposure, social proof, internal references, repeat interactions. These are really crazy signals, okay? This is super important. This is crazy. Prior exposure, what does that mean? That you're exposed to these situations, you know how things work, and you're not just a newbie looking for a job and you know that you don't deserve it. Social proof is important. I talked about LinkedIn recommendations before, right? And then internal references are really key. That's kind of the referral thing. But if you actually get a referral, and you can get someone to send an email, because companies, they have a referral where you can just send like an application and people can go apply. Like that's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. You need someone to go email for you. They like in companies, like people can see who the recruiter is, who the hiring manager is, and they can email them. So if they have your resume, why would they not just send that over to them and be like, hey, check this guy out, instead of just letting the kind of application pool go through and whatever, right? Well, we need them to fight for us. We need to get advocates. We need to make this happen. Okay. Repeat interactions is also key in us actually creating those warm relationships like we talked about. All these are signals, and we need to make enough signals that they pay off. Another analogy to use that I don't really cover, but I teach everybody, is relationships are kind of like bank accounts. So we need to manage this bank account, right? Imagine our bank account, and every time we make a signal, every time we add into it, every time and then the bank account is for a relationship with a person and like our connection with a person. So every time we add a signal, something good into it, that's deposits, right? $5, $10, boom, 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 boom. Every time we ask for something, maybe that's negative $20. We cannot let that bank account go negative. All right. That bank account cannot go negative. It needs to stay positive. Right. And before you ask something, you got to be careful. Otherwise, they're going to close out your account. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. The timing advantage. So this is real, but it's also sometimes an excuse. I'm sure you've been to a career fair and they say, oh, we're not hiring this season. Just go apply online. Right. Sometimes companies like to just do it as a political thing where they like to show up and, do good and help students and whatever, right? But they're not there to actually hire. So, but, on the contrary, they are, they're there. They're there for somebody to go make an impression. So I'm going to read this and I'm going to give you an analogy, but hiring isn't continuous. There's budget cycles, headcount windows, team-specific needs, right? If you apply at the wrong time, you are invisible. And that's true. And we talked about this where you need to become visible before things open up, right? So we talked about that. So this should not be a problem. But it's also true if we're only working on applying to things, if you look at the wrong time, then you might be invisible. Then you might be deterred. And then you might compare yourself to somebody who did something else and you both are qualified like we talked about. And then they're getting interviews left and right. And it's maybe you're just doing the wrong timing. But at the same time, you still need to treat your career like a business and intentionally, not just take the easy way out and switch your timing up and be like, okay, I'm good. I don't need help. I'm just going to try again at a different time because that's kind of how this works. Don't say that. Don't take the easy way out, please. Okay. But the biggest thing here, as far as excuses go, I see a question here. So timing is having issue for here. I am applying at the right or wrong time. So that's kind of what we're talking about, right? If we're applying at the right or wrong time, what does that look like? And the biggest thing I could say is don't worry about just that. Apply all the time. We need to set ourselves up for every opportunity. We miss 100% of the shots we don't take. And if we just worry about, okay, where am I going to shoot this shot? Let's just shoot all these shots and set up our career like a business. Everything I'm talking about is not just one specific window. It's more so setting ourselves up for a holistic guideline, right? But if we want to hop in school later, we can talk specific for your example and your situation, right? That's kind of the point. But for this, oftentimes if someone says we're not hiring or not this season or our team is full, right? If they love you and you're going to add value to the business, they're not going to say that. they're going to say, okay, and like, if it's true, okay, right. Like this team, it's full right now. I mean, like it's full, but maybe I can talk with somebody else. Maybe I can kind of go back and talk and, let me see, let me work it. If you hear somebody say something like that versus, yeah, we're full, I'm sorry. There's two, like someone can always go fight for you. Like it's not like, okay, yeah, we're done. Sorry, bye. Right. If they love you and you add value to the business, they're going to go fight for you. That's what you should be asking yourself. It's not only about that, right? So think about that. The silent eliminator. So most students get eliminated before resumes are read. Why? Because there's no context, no signal, and no internal recognition. Like there's nothing going on. If you only rely on applications and AI to get through it, you're ruining your career, right? Because everything that we've talked about thus far and everything outside of only applications is you planting seeds for the rest of your life. It's not just this next opportunity. And if we're only worried about getting an internship and only doing that, then we're kind of missing and we're kind of messing up. We need to focus on all these seeds we're planting and how we're going to get from point A to point B and level up for the rest of our lives, right? So think about that. But it's also all these signals, these contexts, us building our book of business. And our business is not just a job. We're not trying to just get a job that we're paid hourly. Then we go clock in, clock out, and then that's it, right? Like you guys got an engineering for a reason, right? You need to have that deep-rooted why, that fire, because if you do, all this stuff makes a little bit more sense. And we're not worried about the tactical one little tip or trick. This is us being holistic and developing a nice, foolproof strategy, okay? So how do you engineer all of this on purpose? Okay, think about it. It's like a little pun there with engineer, but how do you engineer all of this on purpose? How do you make this all happen for you instead of against you, right? And this kind of addresses some of the comments that we have here, right? How do we make this all happen for you? Okay, and that's our system. That's the Formula One system, right? So our framework is not a checklist. It's not, okay, let me apply here, worry about this timing or worry about this one thing. It's designed to build leverage early, compress timelines, convert internships into offers, and eliminate randomness. That's the biggest thing. A lot of you guys are going to come across other students that might get lucky. They might have this, and that, and that's randomness. If there's something in our control, I want to control what we can control. If there's something not in our control, that's fine. We can set ourselves up for the best situation possible for like our lives. But if there's something we can control, I don't want to play random and leave it up to luck. I want to take, just take route and control my journey and drive my car. It's kind of like driving without a GPS. Like we might get to the destination, right? If you drive around long enough, maybe, right? And I mean, do you want to play that game or do you want to get there quicker and save money on gas, save money on cars and damages if you get in an accident, right? Like, let's just get there ASAP. So that's kind of what it's about. These are our 4 pillars, okay? And we have lots of different strategies and different things we talk about. I'm kind of giving you guys a snapshot right now, but signal engineering. Now this, again, to kind of break it down, is us inputting into the bank account. We have to treat it like a bank account. It's going to change per person, which is why I'm just kind of going over the 4 pillars. This is going to range on what you want, what your goals are, why you want to be an engineer, and what value you have to provide. But we can make a nice organized framework for you, right? Number 2 is relationship sequencing. Okay. Timing. How do we make sure that we hit these relationships and build our book of business properly? Opportunity stacking, kind of like habit stacking, right? Like the biggest thing I like to say, I'm sure you guys have heard of the analogy, 2 birds, 1 stone. Well, I like to think about it, 10 birds, 1 stone, right? And there's no reason we can't do that. Opportunity stacking, super critical. Everything we do should have multifunctional purpose, okay? Conversate or conversion control as well. So conversion control, what does that mean? Everything that happens, we need to make sure everything is, taken with intent and decisions and opportunities are taken to the fullest. And we control how we convert them to opportunities and benefiting our lives, okay? It's not just things that happen to us, they happen for us. And when we go through this, apply a good structure, not just little small tactics, things start gradually navigating to us and we build a nice business with a solid foundation, kind of like a house as well. All of these things are foundational that allow us to build up. And it doesn't have to be slow either. A lot of these are super quick. The issue is that people stop them and then they get an internship, then it ends, and then they're wondering why they're looking for another internship. It's because we didn't focus on our business while having the internship, right? All this is super important. So now, why this beats mass applying? Okay. Mass applying is hard, especially when we're worried about kind of what I heard in the chat as far as, maybe quality or quantity versus quality or timing. Like all that stuff is critical, but a lot of us think about it in the wrong way. And we think about it in this kind of surface level of going to events or applying, but like it's not just about that. Like quality versus quantity applies like deeper down the route after we have connections to choose from and we kind of analyze it with a coach and we see what needs to happen, right? But like why this 4-pillar system, we just went here, I'm gonna go over it again, right? 4 pillars: signal engineering, relationship sequencing, opportunity stacking, conversion control. Okay. Why that beats mass applying is because it's less effort, because mass applying takes a lot of effort. Maybe it's easy to apply to 100 jobs, or you use a quick AI tool, you know what I'm saying? And you just apply to a bunch of things and you're like, okay, let me see what happens. Right. That's cool. But if we can actually control what we do and every input that we make into our lives, we know it's going to produce a positive result. That's better than just randomness, like we said. So it's going to be less effort because everything we do is going to have a positive outcome, right? Maybe not tomorrow, maybe a week from now, right? Versus applications where it's kind of just like a shot in the dark and we'll see what happens. Like that's wasted because then that is like maybe going to hit something, but it's guaranteed to most likely not, right? Fewer applications, higher response rate, stronger interviews because you're no longer anonymous. They know you, they vouch for you, they're fighting for you, they want you, you're marketable, you're important. All this stuff is so critical. I can't stress it enough, guys. And that's why it beats mass applying. Who this works for. Again, I've interviewed engineers and I've worked with clients that have gone through all of these examples. We're going to touch on a few, but who this works for, low GPA students. You don't need to worry about your GPA. I'm not concerned about it. No internship backgrounds, career switchers, early students, graduating seniors. The system adapts. The principles don't change. So the 4 pillars, everything we've gone through, they don't change per situation. They don't change based off what you want to do. It's still the fundamental same discipline as far as us treating our career like a business. So if you have a low GPA, like that's not going to limit you. That's not going to stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. No internship backgrounds. Like again, the big hitter with this, guys, and some of my clients that are watching are going to know this because we talk about this. One of the engineers I've worked with, they're awesome. They're great. They're one of the best, but they don't have an engineering degree. I'm going to let you guys take some guesses in the chat. We're going to take a moment. Okay. What do you think their degree was in? Put in the chat. We're gonna take a minute. It's like a little late register as well, so I'm gonna wait till it hits and then I'll keep going. But what do we think their degree's in? It's not in engineering. It's not there. Give you all a guess. It's not in STEM. Once I see a few guesses, I'm gonna go ahead and announce it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's in music. They had a music degree. Okay, well, how does that happen? Right? They're a master communicator. They're a master networker. They're a master at building this business. You don't have to have all specific engineering degrees and everything there, right? It's not about having only engineering experience, okay? It's about getting your foot in the door and focusing on everything that we focused on, okay? Career switchers, if you're looking to switch your careers, everything you've done can translate to the engineering world. Early students, if you're just starting out in your career, again, I mean, I got my internship my freshman year. There's no reason you can't. Graduating seniors, there's no you already have all the experience. Now we just need to get it out there. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. I saw some of these guesses. How do you join the Zoom? So afterwards, in our school community, there's going to be a link inside the school community. There's like a calendar in there, so you can just go pop in there and then come join in after. And then we can kind of talk one-on-one about your specific situation. Really cool, really awesome. We'll be able to kind of deep dive it. I'm going to make sure that I answer every question that gets asked. And yeah, and I see that career switcher. So that doesn't matter. I actually talked with someone who had 15 years in manufacturing and owning their own business, not really engineering related. And we kind of got them in, they're looking to switch up their careers to do something a little bit more technical. And that's not a problem. You can switch your careers. Again, as long as we market ourselves and we provide value to a company, that's it. You don't have to have specific knowledge. Like, again, we're not getting hired for a senior coder role that's like super specific that you have to know exactly every little thing about coding, right? That's not what we're targeting. We're targeting entry level or even mid level sometimes. It's just about what we're looking at. So we need to be strategic with our approach, okay? Now, real student patterns. Sometimes I talk to a lot of people, right? A lot of people I talk to, some of our clients, maybe they didn't apply for 6 months, but we still got them interviews. They only had one internship, but that goes to multiple offers. Okay. We need companies fighting for you too, right? Because at the end of the day, businesses, we kind of go through this stuff where it's like, okay, like it's like they compete for stuff, right? And they should be competing for you because you're awesome. You're not just a number, right? And we're not just taking the first thing that's available to us. Well, how do we do that? Positioning, everything we talked about, and maybe you got rejected before, but you pulled into different interviews. And to tell you the truth, guys, I talk about my journey all the time on the channel. I mean, I did some speaking before. It's all posted on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. But to tell you the truth, before I actually got fired from Lockheed Martin, but they hired me back. I got promotions quick. I did a bunch of stuff. I mean, we can go in a deep dive there, but how does that happen? Right? It can happen. You're not just done after that happens. Okay. So that's their real student patterns. That's like, these are real things that happen. Why this isn't taught in school, everything you talked about, they're not going to talk in school as directly or be as blunt about this because, universities, they teach compliance, theory, process, and they want you to stay in school, right? I mean, that's their business at the end of the day, keeping you in school. And that's why they're not going to say this, but everything that they do kind of results in some of this, where it's like, okay, yeah, do projects, join the schoolwork. kind of take your time, do some undergraduate research, right? Like everything that they teach you is going to kind of help you stay in school, just because that's what it is. And not that they're pushing to do this, but if you're struggling to find an internship or job, then oh well, why don't you get a master's degree so you can buy yourself some more time, right? Like you guys kind of get it there, like where they're a little bit biased, right? And why Form 1 is a little bit different and why I care more is because I honestly, if you get an internship your freshman year, I would almost nix school completely and only focus on your career. Kind of like it just depends on what your goals are, what the situation is. But that's what I did. I didn't focus on school after that. Leading up into that, I was VP of the AIAA. I did multiple projects. I did X, Y, and Z. And then I got my foot in the door, right? And again, we can touch on my strategy and like my whole life background, but that's not what this is about. The point is that universities are a little biased. They don't teach influence, risk reduction, and decision psychology. Okay. So that's a little more detail there. As far as where we're at here, why most people fail alone, because they guess, copy random advice, execute out of sequence, and quit too early. There's a lot of free resources, guys. There's a lot of free resources. Okay. Free resources such as, you join AIAA for $20 for the year or something, like whatever they have, right? And they have a lot of free resources, and schools, they offer mentorships and like all this stuff. But again, like all these things are kind of biased. They're there to help you. They're human. Everyone wants to help. They want you to succeed. But at the same time, there's still a lone aspect because they're not going to hold your hand. Not that you need your hand held, but if there's a way to compress timeframes and follow a proven system, you guys should be taking that, whether that's with your engineering career or outside of this, you guys should always be looking to compress timeframes, because if you compress timeframes, I mean, like again, we all have the same 24 hours a day. So why do some people get ahead and some people don't? Right. I'm just explaining this, like, you know what I mean? Because if you compress these timeframes, then you get to get quicker results. Okay. But if we play the same field as everybody else, then we're just playing the same field. And again, if we don't want to compete with everybody else, we need to get into our own field where we kind of set the standard. Okay. So we need to do things differently. We need to think outside of the box. We need to do it completely radically. Okay. So if you're alone in this, maybe you have some support systems, you're still at some points guessing, because you're not going to be able to process every little thought that goes inside your head with every person. Otherwise, they're going to get annoyed, right? The biggest thing I like to say is, the difference between a mentor and a coach. A mentor, you need to have them. Super important. You need to have them. You need to have a lot of them. But if you hit them up every day with questions, they're probably going to get annoyed after like 10 days, if that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So then at some point, you're going to be guessing, right? Copy random advice, execute out of sequence, where you're just like, okay, well, I'm a freshman. That means I can wait. I got 4 years and I can just wait till I graduate, right? Or you just quit too early and you're like, okay, I'm gonna worry about it next year. I'm gonna worry about it when I have more time. Can't be doing that, guys. So why coaching compresses time frames? Because you skip trial and error, wrong sequencing, okay, and dead end effort. Okay, you skip all that stuff because you get into a proven system. You don't have to stress about it. You don't have to worry about it. You can focus on what's truly important. You execute only what moves the needle, okay? Now we're going to go through a few cases, okay? So, I'm going to talk about them. We already touched on them a little bit in depth here. I'm going to read some of the comments here. Yeah, like the biggest thing is definitely keep knocking on doors, right? So like I see you guys in the comments. It's important. You guys definitely need to keep knocking on doors and keep putting yourself out there. But again, this is kind of what we're talking about. If you keep trying the same thing and expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. If things are working and you're getting like little stretches, that's cool. But this is where students get stuck, because you think you make a little bit of progress and that's okay, yay, right? But there's no reason you can't have companies fighting for you. You need to think about this differently. This is not just, okay, I'm gonna start putting out feelers, get some things. Okay, yeah, I've got a little momentum, right? Like that, I would consider that's like bottom of the barrel, as far as like that's a level 1 out of 100, where that to you might be level like 50 out of 100, where you're like, okay, I'm knocking on some doors and stuff, where like we just need to set the bar differently. So like that's just a challenge to think a little bit differently. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but it's still, if you think about that differently and set a higher standard for yourself, you can go out and accomplish anything. Getting an engineering job and getting an internship is step 1 out of 1,000,000. Okay, so what's next for you? You need to think about what that 1,000,000 might be. That can change over time. But if we just compress this time frame and get through it quicker, that's going to help you out in the long run, because then you get to focus on what's truly important to you. Again, same 24 hours. We need to use them wisely. So case scenario, low GPA. I said it before, again, YouTube channel, we interviewed someone. What schools don't tell you? GPA screens aren't universal. Context overrides numbers, signals, beats, stats. Okay, we touched on all of these before, right? Now, the screens, the GPA screens, like they don't necessarily matter too much as long as you're good. I'll tell you what I had. I had a 3.1, okay? So maybe try to have minimum that, but a lot of times I work with students who have less than that, maybe more than that. Sometimes students have 4.0s, but they're struggling worse than a student that has a 2.0. if we have work experience, one little tip, trick, secret strategy for you guys is if you guys look at a company, you guys look at some contracting companies that they work with or for, and you get inside of that contracting company. Now you're working for that company. Now you have a leg in the room, and then that's just going to open immediate doors, right? To give you one more example, why GPA doesn't matter in Lockheed Martin, right? So I got fired the first time, they rehired me, and then I failed the class. Now, I haven't talked about this anywhere yet, so you guys are getting this firsthand. So I'm sorry, guys. I failed the class, but this timing of when I failed the class, when I was when I was about to graduate. I was supposed to graduate. So we were working on getting the full-time offers and like just navigating that. Nothing was set up perfectly, but then I failed the class. So I had to take it again, which means I had to like stay an intern or something, right? So that was a scary moment. Just like, okay, well, how does that affect my GPA? What does that mean? Well, I did such a good job at my work. They loved me and they just kept me on. They were like, listen, no big deal. It happens. We're good. You can stay on as an intern. We got you all set. Right? How good did you set yourself up for success? How good did you do all this? Right? Super important you guys think about that. So that's why GPA, changes. Okay. So think about that, guys. Case scenarios, no internships. Experience does not equal internships. Okay. This is the biggest thing that we talk about as well, where, how I said a lot of students focus on technical experience, projects, research, all this stuff. They don't equal internships. Okay. They just don't. If you get an internship early, that outweighs like all your project experience. It also depends what you want to do. If you know specifically what kind of thing you want to do, as far as you want to like research a specific topic, you're interested in this specific field, or you know exactly what you want to do, that's a little bit different. Okay. So like, I can resonate with that. If you know what you want to do, then maybe study the classes, do the projects, right? But if we're just looking to make it in the industry and grow, develop, and do good, then it's not going to equate to it. Okay. So next thing is execution plus proximity. Okay. Execution plus proximity plus trust is going to outweigh your titles. Maybe VP of AIAA or project lead of X, Y, and Z, right? Execution plus proximity plus trust is going to outweigh all that. Everything we talked about, right? Becoming valuable, networking properly, building these relationships, keeping them warm. Again, you guys can go back on this, look at your notes, but all of this is kind of equating to all this, right? This is a case scenario. And we've helped people in these situations too. I've gone through this myself, but when someone comes to me, they're looking for an internship, they don't have any experience and all this stuff. The first thing I tell them is you're already qualified. Okay. Not that everybody has that music degree that I was talking about, but if that happened, we're engineering students. We're already qualified, right? So think about it from a little bit of a different perspective. Next thing is going to be case scenario early student. Number one thing I hear, and that you're going to hear in career fairs and everything, is, okay, you're a freshman, sophomore, come back when you're a junior or senior, right? Again, I got this. You've seen other people get it, internships early on. How does that happen? Okay. So early students, you have the highest leverage, because if you start, you can start for maybe less pay or something, or whatever the case is, but you have positioning to set yourself up for a bright future. You need to take action and focus on what's truly important, which is everything that we talked about. Okay, guys, really critical. Next thing is graduating senior, right? It's not that it's too late, but it's important that we kind of think about this. I work with somebody who graduated 2 months after they graduated. They still didn't have a position. We got them on board. We got a position within a month. It's really critical that we just take things seriously and do it strategically. Okay. Now, Form 1 exclusive. We are approaching the end of the presentation. If you guys have some questions in the comments, feel free. I can hit a few, and then I'm going to go hop in school. So that way we can kind of get one-on-one with some of our clients watching, and some of the people that joined school for this. But we're going to talk about some big announcements here in a minute. But how much is it worth? A proven career system, right? A system that takes you from point A to point B, removes the guesswork, removes wasted effort, compresses timelines. Answer that. How much is it worth? Is it worth $100, $1,000, $10,000? What does this look like if you can avoid 3 years of guessing and build some experience, trying some things out your alone, but what if we just make this happen quicker? How much is that worth? Right? Think about that for yourself. Super important. Why the Form 1 school community is different. So our community is not passive. It's not a Discord full of a lot of noise and some random events and stuff. It's not a resume club. We're not just focusing on that. This is everybody that goes inside of school. And I want you to leave if you're not serious about your career, right? If you think engineering careers are easy and you think that this is just another job, or you can just keep trying and see how things go and progress through life and then take it easy. And one other kind of topic I like talking about is work-life balance, right? To me, I don't even know what work-life balance is, right? It's because I'm not trying to balance bad and good. If there's bad in my life, I want to get rid of it. So for me, it's more so like work-life integration. Like, how do we integrate everything to live a nice, fulfilling life? The biggest thing I like to say is people that come to me, I want you to either quit engineering or be so fall in love with it that you're like, wow, this is everything to me. And I want to make sure that this is something I level up with, right? Because your career is super important. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you're kind of mediocre or passive in your career, then it's just not going to pay off. So I want you guys to think about that, right? School, us, everything we do, not passive. This is if you want to take it serious to the next level. Okay. So why it is different. We already touched on some of this, right? I mean, again, just to kind of emphasize it a little bit. I mean, how it works is that we have courses, we have systems, we have calls. It's all about refining this weekly, where you might have a quarterly or a monthly or bi-monthly club meeting or some different things that pop up here and there. This is about stacking stuff. It's not about kind of scratching the surface every month, where if you go to kind of like a resume review with a career advisor every month, it's still scratching at it. Like if we review your resume more than like 2 times, like we're going to all be challenging each other. And, the biggest thing inside the school community is we're all sending each other referrals, networking. It's really cool. So career execution frameworks, weekly structured guidance, real-time examples, breakdowns, community of serious engineers, direct access to former win updates. Everything that, there's updates, there's different things, products that roll out. It's inside the school community first. All of our clients in there, they get access to everything before LinkedIn sees it. So it's really cool to kind of just make a new development of people with just new resources and hot takes and hot industry things that get updated. So it's a lot more serious than your typical kind of 10,000 foot view of a career. We just really just treat this like a business and take it to the next level. Okay. So this is it. If you guys haven't been there yet, this is our school community. This is changing at midnight as far as the pricing goes. $25 a night or $25 a month. These are our core values. And the timeline that I like to talk about is internship to full-time role, Excel, competition, leadership, promotion. So that's when we're inside of the role, we need to set the standard higher. But the next thing is then post-graduate. What are we doing post-graduation? We need to talk about that. So we talk about that in the community, but that's what it looks like. That's what we'd be working with. Again, you guys can just go search Google former win. I'll throw it in the chat here as well, so you guys can have that. Definitely get inside there. We're going to do the Q&A live afterwards. That's really all it is, guys. We're going to be bumping this up at the end of the night, so make sure you get in there. Now, the big announcement, if you guys are ready for it. I told you guys we were going to talk about this, okay? Big announcement. I want you guys to take some guesses of what this is. Actually, before that, I'll answer some questions. So, Brian, definitely a way to connect. You can hit me up on LinkedIn, and then we can connect you with one of our coaches. If you want to hop inside a school, that'll definitely help you out. So, I mean, we're going to go over to a Q&A afterwards. So if you want to get in there, come talk to me. I'll break everything down for you. I got you. And then that's for anybody else in here too. So make sure you guys hop in there. But the big announcement, guys. So you guys ready for this? It's going to be kind of crazy. Now, again, this is what I had said. And inside the school community too, I'm going to be giving away 2 scholarships, like I just said, right? So make sure that you're in there. We'll talk about that briefly. But I want you guys to process a few things, okay? Big announcement. Nowhere in the history of engineering coaching, mentorship is this ever existed, okay? We're going to be doing some groundbreaking stuff. You guys ready? My next 30 days live, all right? My next 30 days. This is going to include career execution frameworks, weekly structured guidance, real-time examples and breakdowns, community of serious engineers, and direct access to former win updates. Now, bear with me, guys, all right? I am going to be transitioning from Lockheed Martin to Northrop Grumman. This is part of being able to call anywhere and go anywhere you want. Well, I always wanted to move to Arizona, and I said, all right, well, I'm going to figure this out. There's Northrop Grumman site. I basically called them up, and we just made this stuff work. So I'm getting a promotion. It's going to be a new role, a new environment, higher responsibility. And guys, the biggest thing with this, the groundbreaking thing I'm talking to you guys about that has not been done anywhere is I'm going to go live with you guys for my first 30 days. Not inside the company, right? We're not going to do any proprietary information stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not doing all that. But what I'm going to do is each night for an hour a night, I'm going to make a course. I'm going to make a segment because there's been courses before. We're going to give you the formal one version, which is going to be better. But we're going to go over that. And then I'm going to show you guys exactly what I do for the first 30 days, because I'm not a theory teacher. I'm an applicant teacher. I'm never going to tell you guys to do something that hasn't worked before for our clients or that I haven't done. This is going to be live with me showing you guys how to excel. We talked about how to get your internship, but this is going to be how to excel at it, get a promotion quicker, and how to get return offers. Okay, guys? So guys, listen, that's it. The first 30 days live, just go over it again. 30 days, 30 live sessions, all recorded. You don't have, like, if you miss some, then like, that's cool because it'll be recorded, right? But real decisions, real execution, like, you guys are going to process each day with me. Internships and full-time applicable. The biggest thing I like to say about Form 1 is that it's a career enhancer. Everything we talk about is enhancing your career. It's not about like one thing, it's about enhancing it. So for me, 10 birds, one stone, kind of like using that analogy I talked about, 2 birds, 1 stone versus 10 birds, 1 stone, where we're talking about it here. I'm saying, like, this is for me and for you guys. Like, this is Like I'm teaching you guys through application because me doing this live is helping you guys more than anybody else will because you're seeing exactly what happens. But then it's also helping me, holding me to a higher standard. So you guys are going to see some awesome stuff. But yeah, guys, that's it. Access opens today. So it is inside of school. It's not part of the school membership. This is a separate thing, but it's in school. If you guys go to the classroom, you guys look at it right now for this. We're going to be launching this in March. It is going to be $47. Okay. That's for the course. That's for the full 30 days. You guys are going to see it in there. We're going to change that in about a month. So take a look at that full. So it's part of the school community, right? It's locked in access. That's our school community. That's what I have for you guys. It's going to be super cool. We're going to hop into the Q&A in a little bit. So if you're going to get inside of school, make sure you do it. And that's going to be it, guys. So if there's any other quick questions in chat, I'll take them now. If not, that's going to be it. I'm going to throw this here again, just so you guys can make sure you're inside the school community. I see we have a few people that joined. Super excited to get to know you guys, talk with you guys, and help you guys out. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to scan this really quick, see if there's any other questions. Brian, I got your back, brother. And then if there's any other quick questions. I think we answered all the quick questions, guys. So I think we're going to end it here, guys. I'm going to leave it open for another quick second while I go ahead and finalize everything. But I think that's going to do it. I'm going to stop sharing. Any other quick questions? You guys got the school community. You guys got access to anything. And then you guys can go back, play this recording. It's going to stay on the YouTube channel. So you guys can go ahead and go see that. Make sure you guys go take notes, apply all the stuff that we talked about, and stay tuned in for new Formula One updates. We post videos every week. And